Welcome to the Seller Roundtable e-commerce coaching and business strategies with Andy Arnott and Amy Wees.
So, let's get into the warehousing and 3PL side of the business. So many questions. There are so many sellers out there that have questions about this, that aren't sure how to find a 3PL, who aren't sure how much they should be storing, what they should be doing. So let's just talk a little bit about, what is a 3PL and what kind of services do you offer and what do people come to you for?
Right. Okay. So 3PL, third-party logistics. It's really funny when we were putting our name on the door. I kind of gave them the logo and I wanted and 3PL below it, and they spelled it out, third-party logistics. So I come back and the logo's on the door. I'm like, all right, that looks good. So for a 3PL, think of it as you have inventory that you are trying to get or from one point to the other, and you need someone to kind of help massage it around, whether it's repositioning on pallets, whether it's just holding pallets for a certain amount of time, or it's taking a container, breaking it down, splitting out the inventory, and then it's going to other fulfillment centers. And so if you think, comparing to Amazon is just a really big logistics company that's moving inventory. So it is positioned really close to the end user. So with the 3PL, you're doing the same thing. We do it on a much smaller scale and do a little bit more of a white glove treatment to it. But the end goal is to have inventory readily available so that as a seller, you can have it positioned to either A, get to the end user quickly, or B, get into the Amazon network quickly based on if you have a dedicated warehouse you're shipping to and your supplier is on the other side of the world. We have a few clients who will send us inventory so that they can position to go for all their East Coast Amazon warehouses from our facility. And so it saves them transit time. Of course, there is less risk of problems when something is going a shorter distance, as well as the ability to constantly be flowing your inventory, kind of a just-in-time setup, so that you can stay on top of what you need, but not have too much, but then be able to react when you need to send more. And so I think that it's a very important thing for any Amazon FBA dealer that is kind of moving out of, selling from their house, and they're saying, hey, I need to be able to have more inventory. My garage is overflowing, but I don't know if I want to work with a really big company that does a lot of 3PL business, because I want to have someone that understands Amazon and can kind of be a relationship for my brand as I grow, and can roll with the punches, because every brand that's starting out, especially in Amazon, is going to have the ebbs and flows of inventory problems. And I think everybody is seeing that with transit costs from China to the United States right now.
Yeah, it's insane.
Which are very high. I have a client who is paying for a container on the water what they paid a year ago to air the products in. And so think about the transit time differences in those two scenarios. So it's pretty wild.
Yeah, I would completely agree. It's crazy. We had Chelsea come from So Stocked and talk to us last night in our mastermind group about, the different level. You can't just send a bunch of stock to Amazon anymore. Those days are so over. And, Amazon is making little promises in the background saying that they're going to change this. And in the future, there might be more warehouse space, but they were not meant to be a warehouse. They were meant to be a distribution center. So it's really important that we all figure out our inventory, and that we have inventory and buffer stock, so that we've got, 90 days at Amazon, or we make sure we're restocking as soon as we get down to 30 days of stock, and we keep buffer stock either at a warehouse or a 3PL in the US, so that we're able to keep that going. Because if we actually run out of stock, that impacts, Amazon calculates our sell-through rate. And if you're out of stock of one of your products, that also impacts how much more you can send in, because how much you sell through is actually calculated into your restock rates. So I didn't even realize that. I did not realize that if I stocked out of one of my products and I was out of stock for, let's say, a month or longer, that now how much of that product or any product I could send back in was actually limited. So what a 3PL allows you to do is merchant fulfill and keep buffer stock along, around Amazon if possible, and then also to sell on other channels. So if you are selling on Walmart, if you're selling on eBay, you were just talking about returns, being able to flip some of your returns and sell those on other channels like eBay, Amazon warehouse deals, something like that. That's great. But if you don't have a process to do that, you can't send those back into Amazon. So we need to have a way to fulfill those sales. So a 3PL is a great way to do that. But that being said, there are warehouses as well, right? So there's warehouses and then there's 3PLs. And if you're just using your warehouse as a storage place and you're seed feeding Amazon, a 3PL you might not need a 3PL. Am I right about that? So if you're just using a holding area for your inventory and you're sending in regular stock to Amazon, a warehouse may be good enough for you. But if you're wanting to process returns, if you're wanting to sell on other channels, if you're wanting to do any kind of merchant fulfilled, then you should look for a 3PL. Am I right about that, Matt?
Yeah, the difference in the warehouses and the kind of most of the warehouses are going to have a little bit of a 3PL kind of within their process, but the biggest thing there is they're going to hold stuff for a longer term, and they're going to be much larger facilities that are going to have a lot of just space to just store stuff, and it sits. And a lot of the 3PLs, especially that are working into Amazon, are more set up to touch and feel the product a little bit more and solve problems. All the time I see a client, is sending us a shipment, and we're getting the labels coming in from a rep group that manages the account, and the inventory came in from the other side of the world, and they're ordering in the wrong master carton quantity. And so then we have to kind of help them solve those problems and determine where the mix-up was along the way. And if you're working with too large of an organization, it's just going to be harder to solve that and get your product moving efficiently and quickly. And we really push for timely shipments, whether it's pallets or master cartons out into Amazon. So.
Got it. That makes sense. So a little bit more of a concierge service, or like you were
Yep.
calling it, a white glove service compared to a warehouse. So very good.
Yep.
Awesome. And why don't you tell us a little bit more about your 3PL and where it's located? And are you guys taking new clients on right now?
Yep. So we are shaw3pl.com is our website, but we kind of DBA as Shaw Distribution. And because we do not just 3PL, but we do some distribution for some other companies, and we do a lot of things that are not even related to Amazon. So that kind of gives us the ability to help with if you sell something into Walgreens, or if you simply need to have inventory rekitted or repacked. We do lots of things like that for people. I'm waiting on a deal to come through for Costco, where we will actually receive master cartons of snacks and then make them into the funny little displays that you see when you go in Costco, where you just grab the huge bag of snacks out. So apparently there's a whole business in that. So yes, we are taking clients. We're looking for, the brands that, they have Amazon going, they're established, but they say, hey, I need help. I need an East Coast presence, or even some people say, I need a US presence. We have some clients that have no US office at all, and we're basically their whole arm of the operation over here. So it's very interesting because we meet so many different people and so many different products, whether it's a wobble stool. We've worked with the Squatty Potties stuff before, face masks, you name it, it's on Amazon. And especially if it's any kind of widget that has to flow through a warehouse, if you're putting your hands on it, touching it, making sure that any issues are solved, if there is stickering problems. And as you're very aware, Amazon, the sticker requirements are always changing, and there's all kinds of new programs like the transparency program that are designed to kind of help people, but sometimes they can be more of a hindrance if you're not very knowledgeable and involved in those. And so I like to say that, clean and concise is the best way to do any of it, and that's the way to go.
Yeah, you mentioned transparency, and they have the transparency program and the zero program. And we actually were using it for a while, but we stopped using it because it was just so time consuming and costly, right?
Yep,
Because you have to put a different barcode on every single one of your
exactly.
products. And you're supposed to also have those different barcodes on your products going to retail. And that didn't make any sense to me. I was just like, wow. At first, I created a new label for our product with one of the transparency barcodes on it. And my husband said, no, we can't use that because we have to use a different barcode for every single product. And I was like, how are we going to make that happen? That's
Right.
insane. So I get it if you're selling a really competitive product that, where you deal with a lot of hijackers, it might be a business saving endeavor for you to use transparency or zero. But for us, it was just so much extra work. And we were like, nope, we'll use the patents, we'll use the intellectual property to protect us instead of dealing with transparency or zero. But that's another thing that you brought up that would be a good reason to have a logistics partner like a 3PL to help you, because there's so much that you have to do for those programs, right?
Yeah, the labeling side of it. I mean, I was in the beta program for transparency a number of years ago, and I'm emailing with these engineers at Amazon and the back and forth, and just trying to understand the flow of what they're wanting to accomplish with it back then was a mess, and I kind of was turned off. But I feel that it may be a better fit for, like you say, those highly competitive situations. But we're using brand registry, trademark, and all that to help with the products that we private label and sell. But I've had clients in the past that are getting ripped off by random sellers, and sometimes a lot of people have said it's the wild wild west, and it is. But if you can ride your horse, then you can get through it. So
I love it. So,
yeah.
you've had so much experience selling all kinds of different things on Amazon and also pivoting. So, I would love to ask your advice for somebody who's new, someone who's just getting into Amazon today. What would be your advice for somebody looking to get into the Amazon opportunity?
So there's a few sides to that. You have the I don't want to call it arbitrage, but people that are finding products that they can source and then compete with other sellers. So not necessarily something from the dollar store, but it's pretty easy to get lined up if you dig deep enough and find product lines that some distributor will sell to you, and you are able to sell those on Amazon. And so getting the volume going where you're saying, okay, we're making a little bit of profit, but it's all going into inventory. And that's going to happen. And that before you even go to PPC budgets and getting someone to help with your content, get those first sales, get the simple system going. And then as you start to see increases in growth and organic sales, you're kind of going to start doing more of the PPC thing. And I'm a big fan of finding the right partner for that. I'm sure you're aware there's so many different companies that do the analytics there. And if you're a small, up and coming brand and you're trying to do your private label and you're like, I just don't have time for this, hire one of those companies, learn from them, figure out what they're doing and how you can replicate it. And yes, some of them have software, but a lot of it is taking an Excel document and massaging the data so it looks pretty. And there's obviously a lot more to that, but you can get a basic understanding from a lot of the tools that Amazon is going to give you in the PPC side of things when you're launching and you're starting to grow your volume. And it's not going to happen overnight. I see on way too many forums where people come in and they're like, I have this product, I'm going to sell so much. And you have to have a long road and focus your direction so that you're going after the right products, and B, making sure that your pricing is correct, and then having the background with that. I see so many people who they have a great idea, but they don't understand the business side of it at all, and so they're kind of like, here's my idea, it's out there, and then you need someone to come in and help you massage the details a little bit to be successful and grow. And there's a lot of coaching that I've seen where, someone wants to sell you something as far as, they're on YouTube and whatnot, and watch that stuff, learn from it, and then, spend the time early on to really get into the forums and ask the questions.
Yeah.
Just browsing on Facebook in the comments for a lot of the seller groups, you'll see a question and be like, oh yeah, I had that question. And there you didn't have to pay anybody. You just took the time yourself to do the research. And so I think that, background research, having a good product, a good strategy. I always come back to my marketing background and the 4 Ps, which are the product, price, placement, and promotion being the PPC side of things. So you get all those to fall into line and you can be successful.
Yeah, I love that advice about learning the business first, starting small and learning the business. That's exactly what I did, because back in 2007, when I started on Amazon, I was just flipping like textbooks and stuff like that.
Yep.
It was not, it was not a business yet. And then in 2017, when I invented my product and started my own private label brands, I really had to learn it. It wasn't like, oh, well, I've been selling on Amazon, I totally get this. No, I need to learn it. I need to figure out what is this new business model and how do I do it? And that's when I started doing retail arbitrage and wholesale and all different types of business models, and just dip my toe in them so that I could understand how it works, how to read BSRs, how to understand how to look at the page. Like you were talking about the 4 Ps, where is the product placed on the page? Can the customer find it? How do I have to do listing optimization? How do I do search engine optimization? All of that I had to learn. And I learned it through starting with other people's products before launching my own. And that way I could get a feel for the category, get a feel for the processes. And I still recommend that today, because there's plenty of opportunities still out there in e-commerce, whether you're on Shopify, Amazon, or any of the e-commerce channels. There's a ton of opportunity, but the basics are still important to learn. And if you learn those basics first, you're going to do well. So we have Andrew Craig asking a question here. And Andrew, I saw him at Prosper. It was really great. It's good to see that he's alive after Prosper. I wonder if his voice sounds like mine, but but he says no, it doesn't. But anyway, he said, I'm starting up my Shopify store. And I know, Matt, you're going to have some good advice for him as well here. I'm starting up my Shopify store, and I'm going to start shipping out of my garage. Yes, I love that. Any advice for the best shipping companies in the US, or any other beginner advice? So yeah, I'll let you go first, Matt.
Okay. All right. So I have a number of clients where they have a Shopify storefront and we ship for them. And one thing I love, and there's a number of companies that do this, but I use ShipStation. And ShipStation is a very beneficial because they have group rates for UPS. And so I will link my UPS account, and then I will have the ShipStation account, and I'll compare those UPS rates and find the cheapest rate when I'm printing those labels. Additionally, you can link in USPS through stamps.com. That is ideally the way that I'm going to ship anything out of my facility that is going as a drop ship. Because I've been very happy with the integration. ShipStation will pull in both your Shopify orders and your Amazon orders and your eBay orders. So I can sell a used item on eBay, I can sell a new item merchant fulfilled on Amazon, and I can have my website pull in a Shopify order, and I go to ShipStation and they're all there. And I can choose the rules for the shipping and everything like that. So we'll process out, I print my labels. I either give it to the UPS driver. We have pickups daily. Someone that's at home is not going to have that. So either, you figure out where the sweet spot is in your volume to start scheduling those pickups. And then of course, a lot of the sites will let you go on and schedule those as well. Some of them have a fee. And it's interesting, USPS, we get daily pickups, but some, they can be spotty. If you remember back in the end of the year, USPS was really struggling just because of the demand with everyone being at home. And so we have to thank them for their hard work, but at the same time, have a strategy for our businesses so that we can get product to the end user, because, the end user doesn't care. They're buying something, they expect the kind of the history that Amazon has given them of 2 days. So I think that using ShipStation is a good place to start to find that. If you're doing like LTL shipments, you probably aren't doing that out of your garage. If you are, you have a big garage, and you probably need a warehouse.
Yeah, so I love all the advice that you gave. We actually had ShipStation on the show, and Andy is a huge fan of ShipStation, and that's how he manages all of his shipments from multiple providers as well. My advice for you, Andrew, as somebody who does a lot of merchant fulfilled orders, is to open up accounts with all like the big three providers. So UPS, FedEx, all the providers, you can actually open up accounts with them, and they love serving their business customers, their small business customers, and you can actually negotiate better rates with them. So your salesperson for UPS, for example, they'll contact you and they'll work with you to negotiate better rates. And so like we had a big wholesale vendor account that we were selling through, and we contacted our UPS sales guy and we were like, look, we need better rates because this is really cutting into our business. And they gave us better rates than we could even get on Amazon. Also look at Shopify. So if you're not ready for ShipStation yet, let's just say that you're just starting on your Shopify store and you just have one product, and ShipStation, you're not ready to pay their rates yet to it's not a major operation yet. It's just a few products right out of your garage. Then just start by opening up your accounts with the big three. I love what Matt said about stamps.com. Super smart. You can get lots of discounted rates there. You can print your labels right at home. I use a Brother laser printer to print all of my labels. It's really easy to do, and it's a really affordable printer. And you can even, with UPS, they're my favorite provider, honestly, because with UPS, they give you free labels to use. You can go right on their website and order more labels to use. And then you can schedule daily pickups with them. So every day we have products leaving the house and we just schedule those pickups with UPS. And so we know our UPS driver very well. He comes by every day and he comes and picks up products right outside our front door, which is right here. So that would be my advice for you there. Then also there's a couple of other bulk shipping discount sites, like pirateship.com is another great one to use, as well as, like I said, Shopify is going to also offer discounted rates. But make sure you set up your proper labeling system and everything like that, and know that you can get free labels from some of your providers. So hopefully that is super helpful for you. And then think about when it comes to Shopify, you are driving that traffic. So definitely listen to our episode that we did with Colin Foster, because he talks about the best way to get set up on Shopify and how to build your funnels and everything. Did that answer your question, Andrew?
Yes, it did. Thank you guys very much.
Awesome. Great having you on the show. Thanks for joining us in the Zoom. All right, Matt. Well, let's just wrap up by having you talk to us about how people can reach you and a little bit more about Shaw 3PL. So
Perfect.
Who is your ideal client, and how can people get in touch with you? Oh, wait, before we do that, we always ask a question about how you're staying motivated as a business owner right now. So are there any podcasts that you're listening to or books that you're reading that are really keeping you motivated?
So I'm a member of Build Your Life Resume, and it is Jesse Itzler and a few other members do a weekly. It's on Wednesday nights, and it's just very inspirational. They'll have lots of endurance athletes on and people that have really cool stories. It's a very similar format to this. It's a Zoom. I think it's at 8:00 every Wednesday, and I love that because if I'm kind of worn out on the week, and I go in there and I get hyped up by these people that are literally public speakers. They get paid to hype people up. And I get in there and I come out motivated, and it really is a great reset. So that is my number one go-to. How about you, Amy?
Well, I love, same thing. I read a ton of books. I haven't heard of Build Your Life Resume, so I'm definitely going to check that out. For me, it's the Scribd app. So I use an app called Scribd, Scribd. and it's like $6 a month, and they have a ton of audiobooks and ebooks and everything that you can imagine. And I'm always on there reading a new book, learning something new, or listening to a new book. But that's my big thing. I'm a big reader, so I use Scribd for that, because there's so much available. I used to, when I was first getting started, I used to always listen to podcasts, like in the car on the way to work. I would always listen to podcasts. But now that I work from home, I just do that from that side of things. So very good. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that tip. We're going to definitely check out Build Your Life Resume. And it sounds really awesome. So Andrew says, I started listening to the E-Myth Revisited today. Awesome book. Yes, that was one of my favorite books. Yes, that one really made me think of my business as a system, and really, it really, really helped me. So that was a great recent book that I read as well. So Matt, back to our question that I asked before this one. Tell us, who are your ideal clients for Shaw 3PL, what they can expect, and how they get in contact with you.
Yep. So Shaw 3PL, ideal client is someone that is navigating the Amazon business and they need help with their inventory flow. Or they need to repack or rekit or go through anything that needs some touch and feel to get to the end user. It doesn't have to just be Amazon. We deal with Walgreens, we deal with Walmart, and a number of other B2B clients. And so anything in that nature where it's flowing in a container, one pallet, either way, and then parsing it out and then sending it back out the door to a different destination, we can help. We do drop ships daily, and you can reach us ship@shawshipnow.com. Ship@shaw3pl.com.
Ship@shaw3pl.com. Awesome. Well, we will be in touch, and thank you so much for being on the show today and telling us your story about, how you had you've done so many, you've had so many pivots. And I think that's key for people to understand, that you can be successful, and you can pivot. Sometimes, it's okay. It's okay to pivot. It's okay to move into a different business model, and not be afraid to consistently make change. And you've profited from that change. And so that's really awesome.
Yep. It's exciting. I follow a lot of financial advice on Twitter, and a lot of the people they'll plug Amazon FBA as something that you should have in addition to investing and rental properties and stuff. And if you think about it, it's perfect, because you can diversify your revenue streams. And so when one thing is down, something else potentially may be up. And so I think that those are good things to keep in mind.
Very good. All right. Well, thank you everyone for being here. I'm going to stop the live. I'm going to stop the recording. And for those of you who are here in the Zoom, we will take any of your questions that you have. We're happy to have you here, and we'll see you guys next week on the Seller Roundtable. Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for tuning in. Join us every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for live Q&A and bonus content after the recording at sellerroundtable.com. Sponsored by the ultimate software tool for Amazon sales and growth, sellerseo.com and amazingathome.com.